Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. Elena, would you please take the roll?
Dwengler,
Here.
Jacobs, Owens,
Here.
Rosas, Baker,
Here.
Batterman, here, Comstock, here, Crombie,
Present/here.
and we have quorum.
Thank you, Elena. If you're able, would you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And if we could ask the council indulgence, if we could take a moment of silence to respect and honor those who are in the safety area that may have perished due to protecting both local, state, and country. Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the consent agenda. Look for a motion.
So moved. Second.
Second. Oh,
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Okay, petitions and communications. Any citizen appearance or public comment here in the audience tonight for items not on the agenda? Anybody out in the vast listening audience? Okay, hearing none, I am honored to present two proclamations this evening. So, Gary, if you would like to start by coming up, please. The first one will be for the Exchange Club. It's my honor tonight. This proclamation was given this weekend at an event for the Lincoln Land Exchange Club group, who are here celebrating their 100th anniversary. So this proclamation is as follows. Whereas family, community, and nation are important core values in the lives of Americans, and whereas national exchange clubs have been serving communities throughout the United States for over 100 years. And whereas the National Exchange Club's Lincoln Land District, having been formed in 1926, is celebrating its 100th anniversary serving our communities. And whereas the National Exchange Club, a strictly American organization, is a group of volunteers unselfishly working together to make our community a better place to live through programs of service in Americanism, community service, youth activities, and its national project, the Prevention of Child Abuse. And whereas experience teaches us that government by itself cannot solve all of our nation's social problems, and that volunteers are vital to our future as a caring and productive city, county, state, and nation. And now, therefore, I, Stephen C. Stocker, Mayor of the City of Sun Prairie, do hereby proclaim June 7th, 2026 as Lincoln Land District Exchange Club Day in the City of Sun Prairie, and encourage all citizens to recognize the past and ongoing contributions of the National Exchange Club and support the Lincoln Land District Exchange Clubs in their efforts. And we're privileged to have Gary here tonight, who can explain why June 7th is a significant day. Oh, first, I guess looks like Mark's ready for a picture. Okay. So would you like to say a few words, Gary? Sure. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a great proclamation, and it really addresses and thank thank you, the city and city council for all the work you do. As the proclamation states, the exchange clubs have been in existence since 1911 with our local district, district, which includes Wisconsin, Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and Illinois, which the Exchange Club of Sun Prairie is a part of. And we have been a club for the last 47 years, giving back to the community. And as we look back on some of that, we probably over that time have given more than $500,000 back to the city in a number of different ways. And it was mentioned in here, excuse me, that child abuse prevention is one of the main focuses of Exchange. And we also in Sun Prairie are the benefactors of Rise Wisconsin, which is a center in Madison that has a satellite office in Sunshine Place, where some of the programs are managed. And that particular service has been provided since about 1982 out of Madison and the Exchange Club of Sun Prairie, and in that past, exchange clubs throughout Dane County developed that center. So that's just kind of a short little snippet in terms of what we do as Exchange, and we look forward and thank you for your support as we move forward. Thank you.
It's an easier path. You don't have to wander.
Thanks for volunteering.
Okay, next we have Jade here to accept the Fun Prairie proclamation. No better person for this. And if you do call my cell phone, my greeting wishes everybody a Fun Prairie Day. I don't know if you've ever heard that one. Anyway, whereas the pursuit of fun and engaging in activities that bring joy and amusement are essential for mental health, well-being, and overall quality of life. And whereas July is recognized nationally as Parks and Recreation Month and is a time to focus on fun by discovering and rediscovering the activities, events, spaces, and places that bring us the most joy. And whereas Fun Prairie boasts numerous public facilities, amenities, parks, and attractions designed for fun, including the Family Aquatic Center, the Tom and Rita Tubbs Splash Pad and Playground at Wetmore Park, the Fun Prairie Historical Museum, the Fun Prairie Media Center, the Fun Prairie Public Library, and the Community Arts and Recreation Trailer known as Go-Kart. And whereas Fun Prairie hosts a variety of beloved events, such as the annual Fire and Lights Parade, the annual Groundhog Day prognostication, the Fun Prairie Farmers Market, Frozen Fest, Fun Prairie's Juneteenth celebration, concerts in the park, Streets of Fun Prairie, the Multicultural Fair, the Sweet Corn Festival, and many more. And whereas Fun Prairie has a vast business and nonprofit community that works hard to engage the community and provide opportunities for fun such as shopping, dining, health and wellness, programs and services, family engagement programs and services, and more. And whereas Fun Prairie is a welcoming community where all are welcome and encouraged to partake in the plethora of fun activities available. And now, therefore, be it resolved, I, Stephen C. Stocker, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor on behalf of the City of Sun Prairie, do hereby proclaim that the City of Sun Prairie shall be named the City of Fun Prairie for the entire month of July 2026 in celebration of both the city's dedication to fun and in recognition of the Parks and Recreation Month, let the fun officially commence. Oh, Marco's doing a picture. All right. There's no better cheerleader than Jade. Would you like to say a few words?
Sure. Hey guys. Okay. Hi. Okay. Chant Fun Prairie. No. Okay. I won't make you do that. Okay. So we are so excited. If you're not familiar with Fun Prairie, you officially have 2 weeks to do extensive research on the history of Fun Prairie. But it'll kick off on July 1st with Parker and Rex. Park and Rex, our dino, his birthday party. He's turning 6. And then we have our dino egg hunt. We have our take and make craft, and then lots of awesome opportunities at our pool, including our splash and sizzle hula party. We will have a limbo contest, a really cool prize. If you guys want to practice, once again, a couple weeks to practice for that.
Yeah, that's right.
But you know, the month is really just focusing on events that are bringing people outdoors into the community and focusing on, you know, how important parks, recreation, and forestry is to a city and a community. So thank you so much, and we are ready to rock and roll for Fun Prairie 2026.
Yeah, great cheerleader.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. No, it's okay.
Jade.
Okay. Thank you. I'm pumped. Okay. Next item are committee reports. And
This item is not on the agenda, so I don't know if they still wanted to speak.
oh, okay. Okay, looks like we might have missed one. Is Sandy Kisting here? Okay, Sandy, I'm sorry. It looks like you wanted to speak during the, was it during the open portion, or is it for an item on the agenda? Pardon?
So that item was removed from the agenda. It's not on the agenda tonight. So
Okay.
if you still wanted to speak, speaking during public comment would
Sure.
be appropriate.
Yeah, you can still come up. We'll okay, you made the effort, so we want to hear what you have to say. And if you could please come up and state your name and address, Sandy. Is the green button on? Green.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, there.
Hi, Sandy Kisting. I currently live at 1045 North Bristol Street in Sun Prairie. I've been a massage therapist since 1990 before there was regulations. I helped the state and the counties. I was on the committee to definitely get us licensed since then. I was disappointed when in 2004 they decided to certify us and not license us. So I kept going, and then by 2010, of course, we got licensed, which was great. Part of the reason I wanted the licensing from the beginning is because if you have licensing, you have more control over what people can do and not do, and so that helps keep our trafficking down in our field. It's unfortunate that our field has a lot of sex trafficking. I was looking over the proposal, and I just highlighted a couple things that I don't know. I guess I was looking, there was the conditions of operation, and one of the things that said on there was no nudity and sexual explicit conduct. I clearly understand the way that's on there. However, my concern with the nudity thing is that I work in different capacities, both in Sun Prairie and in Madison. And so in the hospital, I work I see about 30 clients a month in the hospital, and a lot of times they are not fully clothed there because sometimes I have to work on their glutes or I have to work on their lower back, and their clothes is restrictive. It's restricting the blood flow to the muscles, so I need to have them covered with a sheet, which is state law required anyway. I'm concerned that we specifically said no nudity, because what happens if someone reports that a client came on the table and they didn't have their clothes on, but they were covered up? And so now you're kind of crossing lines where I need to be able to access the body in order for me to be able to do the work. And I saw in here that you specifically disincluded, like chiropractors and hospitals and such. But I also have my own office here in town. It's the front part of my townhouse, which brings up point number 6, which says you guys say no residing, sleeping overnight, maintaining living accommodations. My townhouse, my office is in the front of my townhouse. It's been here for 9 years. I'm renting. So it's a separate office. There used to be an insurance company in there, so the office was already in there when I came into town. I registered when I came to town. I came to town in 2018. I said, are there permits? Are there things I have to do? They're like, no. Of course, I paid my taxes. So I know why these things are in here, especially for trafficking. But I also feel like now, is this forcing me to leave my home office in the front part of my townhouse, and now it's forcing me to go spend more money to have a brick and mortar not on site? And then I already have an establishment license for my aesthetics part of my business, and the rules are kind of the same as this, which is if anytime during office hours somebody from the city or the state wants to stop in and check things out, they can. I mean, I'm not against any of that. I'm just trying to. The other question I had is, do I have to have 2 permits? Because I work out of my home office, I work for the Flamingo soccer team, I work at a hospital, and sometimes I travel through Airbnb and I go to people who are in Airbnbs in the county. So do I have to have a mobile permit? Do I have to have an establishment? So is that dual permit and dual cost? Like, I'm not the only massage therapist that travels and does things. I just happen to be attached to more professional businesses. And so I'm kind of the anomaly. Since I've been around so many years, I have all of those contacts and all of those venues. I'm also in charge of the massage room when Ironman comes to town. So that means I have to put a team of massage therapists in at Monona Terrace in the massage room. So I'm following all the rules, and I understand why we need these, because I am the first person to say we need to stop trafficking. But I also feel like, because of the things that I do in different places, all these apply to me in a really weird way that kind of stops me from doing my business. So I just wanted you to be aware of that, because I just happen to fit this in all these different places that isn't typically just me going to one office and working. So, obviously if it's not in the city ordinance, Madison rules are their own, but it's also because my home base is out of here. So those are just things to consider, because I'm not the only person that does that. I'm not the only person that works at the hospital. I'm not the only person that works at a chiro office or has more locations other than home office. So I just guess when you're setting the fees and the rates, consider that I'm sort of mobile massage and I'm sort of not. And so now, does that mean I have to have dual permit? Is it going to cost me twice as much money? Are you going to want me to move out of my office, out of my townhouse? So now I'm going to have to put more money out as a brick and mortar, as a small business? Because right now it's me, myself, and I, but I do subcontract people to help me. Those are usually off-site. And the other places, like an Ironman, it's off-site if I do corporate chair massage. So I just, when you guys are going forward, I don't want to be priced out of the neighborhood. And, especially if I'm the only person working and I'm working through all these venues consistently. And I know when COVID came, I took a hit really hard, obviously. But because I've been in business a long time, I kind of had a buffer. I know one of the things I ran into with COVID is I started acquiring clients from some of the other places in town where there were foreign speakers. And one of the women, I knew who she was. I'm like, hey, how come you came here? And she said they didn't know. My group doesn't know they're supposed to be doing safety protocols. And I said, oh, well, that's just education. So I went over to that establishment and I walked in, and a girl in about her 20s could barely speak English. I said, hey, I need to show you something on your computer. And I took her to the DHS site and I showed her in her language the governor's orders and what we're supposed to do for precautions. And she kept saying, oh my God, I'm not doing this. And I'm like, I know, but I'm not here to bust you. I'm here to train you and educate that you can see this in your language. So I think sometimes when people come to this country and they migrate, they go to smaller towns because they feel safer. But also there's the language barrier with the older crowd. A lot of those women over there are probably over 60 or 70, they're grandmas, and none of them speak English to me when I'm in there. But like, I don't want us to just automatically assume they're all doing bad things because they're not the normal thing. A good example as a cultural difference is if the Chinese-Japanese culture, it's not uncommon for them to ask for their money up front before someone comes in, because in their home countries, if they didn't do that, they never got paid. And so sometimes people take that affrontal and think that, oh, maybe they're doing something illegal. I'm like, but maybe they're not. Maybe they're just from a culture where they got ripped off a lot and they want to make sure they get paid. So I just think there's a lot of things we have to consider when we're looking at this. And I, for one, like I said, I'm the first person. I was on some of those things with Steve Hammond. We had hours of conversation for a couple of years about how we could stop trafficking. I do know our state law requires when we sign our license every 2 years, we have to actually sign a written document with the state that says if we participate in, if we see and we don't report, we will be, our license will be suspended and we can go to jail. So they've really cracked down on us from the state level. So I think sometimes there's already protocol in place, and it's always good to have more, but we have to also keep in mind that we might not understand how other cultures operate, so it looks different to us. So I just want to put food for thought for you, because I've been at this for like 36 years and I've seen all the changes for the better. But I just want you to be aware I'm kind of the anomaly in the group. And so I just happen to have my wings everywhere. But that's, I guess I'll leave it up to the council to decide if I'm relocating to brick and mortar or staying at my home. So I just wanted you guys to be aware those are kind of conflicts I had right now based on what you're stating in here. So.
Well, thank you, Sandy.
So thank you.
As public comment, we can't go back and forth, but I'll be happy to sit down with you if
Sure.
you'd like to make an appointment.
Sure.
Give me a call. Be happy to sit down and go over your concerns
Sure.
before it comes back to council.
It's
So
just I've been around so long, I've seen it all go wrong and so right. And so I just want, if we're doing this, I want to make sure we're doing it the right way so that everybody wins. So
I thought you looked familiar. I lifeguard the Ironman.
yes, I've been up there almost 22 years now. So
Longer than
thank
I
you
have.
guys. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Sandy. Okay, now we'll move on to the Plan Commission. Alder Drangler is going to sub for Alder Rosas, who was gone that night. So,
Yeah.
Alder Drangler, please.
Yeah, so the city is requesting authorization to proceed with an application to the Capital Area Regional Plan Commission, CARP-C, to amend the urban service area boundary. This is to include 440 acres located east of Highway N and north of US Highway 151 in the town of Bristol. Before the application can be considered, the city must approve a resolution certifying that the proposed project is consistent with a comprehensive plan and that the subject area must be brought into the city's urban service area before sanitary sewer services can be extended to the area. The staff recommended, along with the Plan Commission, to approve the request to proceed with an application to the Capital Area Regional Plan Commission to expand the urban service area.
And is there a motion?
Yep, so I'll make a motion to expand. Yep, so to approve the resolution. Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay,
So
hearing
I
none,
believe-
Elena, would you
oh.
please take the roll? Oh, just a second. Alder Jacobs. Oh, okay.
Yeah, there was a public comment about expanding the USA, the urban service area. A resident area had emailed us, and I
Missed
thought
that.
that she had wanted to speak today, but I didn't
Okay.
see anyone in the audience. There was a concern about how it would impact their property. So I don't know if we can ask city staff about, is it possible to make a carve out for her property in the expansion area?
I think Josh responded to her.
That'd be a good question for Josh.
Yeah,
Josh, would you come forward, please?
Would you, yeah, or Sarah,
Sarah.
whoever's
And/or Sarah.
wants to speak to it. It's the Sarah and Josh show.
Did you hear the question?
Yep, I heard the question. Good evening. Yes, we did receive that letter. So we did have a phone conversation with that property owner just to sort of put their mind at ease that with amending the service area, there is no requirement or force to annex property. There's no change to taxes. There's no change to property assessment. There is no requirement that they do anything with their lot. It's simply amending a boundary on a map. So should the city ever get questions or inquiries or be approached by any developers about expanding the business park north of where the current urban service area is, we've already planned and accounted for what that would look like to our sewer and water services and stormwater services. But in no way does that change any physical or evaluation of the property.
And just a follow-up question to that, would it potentially impact the people that live there if they would choose to sell their property?
It would not.
Okay, thank you.
Alder Jacobs.
I actually, if I can, Sarah, I might disagree with that, because the impact would be that if they're not included, then we would have to go through this whole process if the future owner wanted to be included. So
Yes.
It seems to me that the best default is just to include them and let them opt not for the service. So if a future resident there has a problem, they don't have to wait. How long, Josh, would that be?
Yeah, so it would probably be a 6-month process. I don't know if there's some sort of emergency action, but every year we get a few calls from residents who live near the city in Burke or Bristol that their septic system is failing or they're testing their well water and it's not acceptable. So they reach out to us to see if they could get city utilities. And generally the answer is no, you can't, because you're not within this service area. So while they may be good now, it could become a circumstance in the future that my well's failing. Would I be able to, receive city sewer, presuming that development is adjacent to them, so that they would be able to do that without having to go through this, extra regulatory process.
So I wish Jolene was here to hear that. I think she'd feel better about the action that we're about to take. It really does protect her as a property owner, actually. I'm not sure she appreciates that.
We did respond to her via email. I guess the other part, maybe to help the council too, when do we think development would reach this area?
Well, while Taylor's walking up here, we get inquiries for large potential developments that could be 120-ish acres or more that, could become adjacent quickly. That hasn't been what we've generally experienced there. But the reason why we're including this entire area is that regularly we're seeing inquiries to our region for developers who could take much of this area. But it's kind of a guess, in terms of what might happen.
Yes, there's no immediate proposals for this land expanding north beyond the existing urban service area. As Josh mentioned, we have had people that have approached other landowners in the area about purchasing large swaths of land. This is just one step in the process for us to be proactive in case something were to happen.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, Elena, please take the roll.
Drengler,
Aye.
Hips,
Aye.
Owens,
Aye.
Rosas,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Batterman,
Aye.
Comstock,
Aye.
Crombie,
Aye.
and that passes 8-0.
Okay, thank you, Elena. Okay, next is Public Safety Committee, Alder Crombie.
Thank you, Your Honor. Well, I guess I got to turn it on though first. Okay, so we have 2 readings tonight. The first reading is an ordinance repealing and recreating Chapter 8.44, regulating chronic nuisance properties. Tonight, there's no action taken. This will occur at the July 7, 2026 Common Council meeting. But tonight is a night that we can review and discuss the proposed ordinance during the first reading and move to adopt the ordinance during the second reading. When we met at the Public Safety Committee, we voted unanimously. We concurred with the staff recommendation. It is a long ordinance for those of you that have read it. And I don't know if, when we do these first readings, should we read the ordinance, or? I'm not in the mood to read it really
We are
tonight.
not required to read the ordinance. The first reading is just kind of the first notice to the public that, hey, this ordinance is out there. Council is considering adopting it. So you are not obligated to read it out loud.
Then we should call it first notice instead of first, because I take it as we have to read the ordinance.
You are never required
And
to read
nobody
an
ever
ordinance unless a member of the council specifically requests it or one of you wants to.
Okay. And I believe we have our Chief of Police here, and Lieutenant Thompson's here too, if you have any questions for them.
Any questions? Okay, I guess we can move on to the next.
Okay,
first
the
reading.
next one has to do with another first reading, ordinance amending 8.08.090 to just remove the fee schedule from the ordinance. Like the first one, there's no action required. This is just for us to have an opportunity to, if we had any, if we wanted to review and discuss this ordinance during the first reading and we'll move to adopt this ordinance on the July 7th meeting. So the Public Safety Committee did concur with this staff recommendation. And I will leave it up to the council here if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, hearing none.
Okay.
Thank you, Alder Crombie. Okay, next item is the Public Works Committee. Alder Baker.
All righty. So the first one is the city, you might have heard something like this before already tonight. The city of Sun Prairie is preparing to file an application to the Capital Area Regional Planning Commission, CARPC, to amend the city's urban service area, USA boundary, to include approximately 440 acres located east of County Highway N and north of US 151 in the town of Bristol. The subject area must be brought into the city's USA before sanitary sewer services can be extended to this area for future development. Staff is recommending to Common Council to approve the resolution, and the Public Works Committee voted unanimously to support staff recommendation. And I make the motion to pass the resolution.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now it's time for discussion. Any discussion on this item? Okay, hearing none. Elena, would you please take the roll?
Dringler,
Aye.
Jacobs, Owens,
Aye.
Rosas,
Aye.
Baker,
Aye.
Batterman,
Aye.
Comstock,
Aye.
Crombie,
Aye.
and that passes 7-0.
Thank you, Elena. It's yours. Mine has 2 items. What's yours say?
Yes, 2 items under Public Works.
Did you combine the
No,
two?
I did
Okay.
not.
Okay, we'll go to the next one then, please.
Right. I didn't think I combined it, did I?
No, no.
I mean, I talk fast, but not as fast as our city attorney, but I mean, I'm working on it.
I do not bill by the minute. I just want to make sure you get good value.
I like it. All right, the second item, the city's master stormwater management plan identified the Gateway Pond on Thompson Road as a candidate for conversion from a dry storage detention pond to a wet detention facility that we still meet water quality needs as well as adding water quality benefits. Dane County offers an urban water quality grant program that provides funding for these ponds. And this is an interesting subject. And I'm hoping that Tom Veith will come up and talk about it. It was a great education. But the staff is recommending the council move to approve the item. And the committee also voted unanimously to approve this item. And I would so move that we pass.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second.
Wait till you hear about this.
Okay. Tom,
Yeah,
the
I
floor
can
is
give you a
yours.
quick overview. So this is a Gateway Pond project. The city is in a TMDL, total maximum daily load, so we're dealing with impaired waters downstream of the city. Thus, we are required to reduce phosphorus and total suspended solids within our city. And that's hard to do when we already have a city that's fully built out. So what we look for is pond retrofits, ponds that are already existing that we're able to change the science of how they work, and we're able to achieve some of those benefits all within an existing facility, not acquiring new land, those things. Similar to Liberty Square Pond up on Bird Street, used to be a dry pond meaning just native vegetation and only fills up when storms happen. We added a permanent wet cell, so there's water column that's permanent, and that helps to reduce and settle out the phosphorus in those ponds. So we still have the water quantity, so we still prevent flooding, but we also are able to improve the water quality of our system. So this Gateway Pond is the next one. It's already in our CIP at $300,000 plus to retrofit this pond with vegetation plans and this wet cell. We were able to capitalize and apply for this Dane County grant, and they provide 60% of the funding, capped out at $186,000 for this project, so not inconsequential, and that helps our stormwater funding citywide as well. So we're excited for this project, something we were already doing. We were able to find the funding source to help reduce that load. So be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Tom, and thank you for finding that funding source, especially in our times.
Yeah.
Okay, Alder Batterman.
When I watched the meeting, I was having a hard time figuring out where exactly is this pond.
Sure. Question.
And just tell me, reassure me, how's that?
Yeah.
There are no playgrounds around this area, and there are no schools around this area.
Yeah, so this pond is on Thompson Road and Effingham Way, so just north of the U.S. Bank on State Highway 19. Okay. So the nearest schools would be south of State Highway 19, Royal Oaks, and the middle school there as well. Proximity, I guess, is left. I think we're probably 1,000 feet in a highway in between them. There are homes that back up adjacent to it. Yeah. There is a park that is 2 to 3 blocks north of this facility, but in this pond, there is no adjacent ponds, schools or parks at this area.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, seeing none. Alana, would you please take the roll?
Drengler?
Aye.
Jacobs?
Aye.
Owens?
Aye.
Rosas?
Aye.
Baker?
Aye.
Batterman?
Aye.
Comstock?
Aye.
Crombie?
Aye.
And that passes 8-0.
Thank you, Alana. Okay, moving on to new business. Okay, the first and only is a resolution approving the renewal of a Class B intoxicating liquor and fermented malt beverage license for Wagner's Bar, Charles Wagner, agent, at 110 East Main Street for 2026 to 2027. The recommendation is staff recommends common council to move to approve the resolution approving the renewal of the license.
Steve.
Alder Owens.
I move to approve the license subject to the conditions approved by the police chief and the city attorney.
Okay, do I hear a second?
I'll second it so you have a conversation.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. I'll open it up for discussion.
Could we hear a little bit about the conditions proposed by the police chief?
I'll refer to our attorney.
Sure, I'm happy to start addressing those, and I know Chief Warwick is also here and able to address those as well. The Wagners are also present this evening. I don't believe they intend to speak, but if there were specific questions for them, they are also here and available. The Wagners did retain counsel, and I've been in very regular negotiation with them since last week. They intend to list the bar for sale and in fact already have it listed for sale. So we're negotiating sort of some additional conditions of operation above and beyond the normal conditions that are placed on licensed establishments in order to ensure that the activities that have been occurring at this property, which were problematic, are going to be far less likely to occur. They have already voluntarily reduced their operating hours, so they're no longer open until bar time, but they're voluntarily choosing to close the bar at midnight. So my recommendation to you would be consistent with the motion made by Elder Owens, which is that you grant the license subject to agreed upon conditions between the Wagners as representatives of CB Wagner LLC, myself, the police chief, and the city clerk, who's the license grantor. So we would continue to negotiate with them about other specific conditions and regulations that would be placed on the property to ensure public safety and to ensure that a riotous house does not continue to occur at that property.
Okay, does that answer that one? Alder Rosas.
This question is for Kathleen. I believe that you have been in negotiations with Wagner's Bar. I'm concerned about how many meetings that you had with the applicant, because what I saw, there was a number of violations. And the first question that came to my mind is that why do we wait so long? He could have been brought in after the second violation and spoken to. And so why are we doing this now? So I don't understand.
Sure. So licenses for licensed alcohol establishments run on a July 1st to June 30th basis. And so the police department reviewed the ongoing activity at Wagner's and made a recommendation to the ALRB that points be assessed against the property. They recently held a meeting and did assess points against the property, but did not at that time recommend suspension or revocation of their license. We also have the ability as a municipality to non-renew a license. So our initial proposal to the Wagners was that we intended to non-renew their license based on the previous ongoing criminal activity during the last licensing year. At that point, they retained counsel, and I have had, I believe, 7 email exchanges and I think 3 or 4 phone calls with their attorney. But this is kind of a normal thing that comes up with alcohol licensing. It's not uncommon for there to be a lingering license or two out there for the last meeting in June. And in fact, in my previous community, we often had to hold a special meeting on June 30th to kind of wrap up the remainder of the licenses. So in this case, they have been acting in good faith in their negotiations with us through council. And I know that Chief Warwick, Lieutenant Thompson, and Lieutenant Lingle have all reported that since they began to voluntarily impose that earlier closure, the problematic activity at the bar has been substantially reduced. There is never going to be a tavern in Wisconsin that has no police contact. That's not a realistic expectation for us to have as a community. But they have been acting in good faith to ensure that it is a safer environment both for their patrons as well as law enforcement should they be called there. So that is why we're bringing it forward at this point. We were kind of going back and forth after the ALRB meeting. This is the last regularly scheduled council meeting. So that's sort of how we got here. I know Chief Warwick and Lieutenant Lingle are intending to be much more proactive with licensing issues in the future rather than waiting until there are 6 or 7 violations, bringing it forward after the second or third.
Alder Rosas.
This is for Chief. Chief, can you tell us, are you comfortable with these conditions, sir?
Yes, I am. When in my experience, when the bar is willing to work with us, we're willing to work with them. I do agree that if we did get some pushback and they weren't willing to work with us, then I would seek non-renewal and I would make that recommendation to you. But at this point, I feel comfortable with what Kathleen advised in a plan going forward. The line is short, though. We can't put up with a lot more problems. And if those problems do occur, we will call a special meeting and we will have to make some decisions regarding suspension or revocation. And I think that in the negotiations, I think that's made very clear. I mean, obviously they know what the end game could be, but at this point, I feel very confident in what Attorney McDaniel has presented.
Thank you.
Okay, Alder Batterman and Alder Jacobs.
Yeah, I watched this meeting also, and I just want to be reassured. Their website still says they're open until 2 a.m. They are actually closed at midnight now?
The Wagoners have reported to me, and I believe the police department on like regular road patrol activity has confirmed that the bar does appear to be closing at midnight. Obviously, again, Chuck and Brenda Wagner are here, so I would suggest that they perhaps do want to update their website and or social media to reflect their current hours of operation, and that's also something that we can write into the final agreed upon conditions.
And so they're now in the process of selling the bar. Is that what you're saying?
That is correct. And I believe one of the concerns is when a bar is listed for sale, it is generally probably more valuable. Alder Baker could probably speak to this with more capability than I could. If it does have an active and operational liquor license, because then the bar owner can do a voluntary surrender of their license to a new applicant. We aren't at license quota as a community, but there is still always a concern of, will this be able to remain a licensed establishment? So if somebody wanted to buy it and turn it into an Irish pub or something, they would already have a license kind of attached to the premises that could then be transferred or surrendered to them.
And the last thing I wanted to say is, again, newbie here. I don't know how this all process works, but this was a meeting that was potentially televised on our televisions and open to the public. And some of the language that was used in this meeting was horrific. I was really appalled by it. And I was also interested to know how this ALRB can just lop off demerit points as a body, as opposed to the police were recommending, that they get 300 demerits. And this body just said, well, we'll only give them 200.
Sure.
How can they do that?
I don't want to cut you off. I'm happy to answer that, though.
I'm done.
So Wisconsin law is a little unique, and City Clerk Hilby, please chime in because you are an expert on municipal licensing. We are able to issue operators licenses or licenses to a premise under Chapter 125 of Wisconsin law, but then we're also able to create kind of our own regulations for these premises under ordinance. A long, long time ago, when Sun Prairie was a much smaller community than we currently are, we chose to create a demerit point system. That demerit point system requires the police to go forward to the Alcohol Licensing and Review Board, which is a board that's kind of a subunit of this council, and make recommendations as to when and whether or not points should be assessed. That board then makes an evaluation and determines whether or not to assess points. Licenses can be suspended or revoked by this council after a hearing upon the imposition of those points, but we can also pursue a suspension or revocation separately. City Clerk Hilby has been very diligently working over the last few months to rewrite all of our licensing ordinances, and one of the things we will be evaluating is whether or not the demerit point system still makes sense for Sun Prairie, given that at the time it was imposed, I think we had under 10,000 residents and we're now 40,000 and growing. Demerit points are a very difficult system to assess because ALRBs change over quite regularly based on mayoral appointment, and so there's not always a consistent application of points. And it's also a hard situation for the police department because if a certain number of points are assessed, a license is automatically revoked. And some bars will respond to corrective criticism or more enforcement activity. Some won't do anything until they get to a revocation hearing. And that's not a comment on this specific licensed establishment. That's just how these work. I know Chief Warwick and I both come from Northeast Wisconsin, where it is not uncommon to pull a bar's liquor license. That has not historically been a standard practice here, but I think we're both comfortable proceeding forward under the different fashion that the city clerk is working to outline. And it will also make life much easier for the city clerk's office, who's responsible for issuing these licenses. So ALRB can impose demerit points as they see fit, consistent with the guidelines set forth in ordinance right now, but it's always council's decision whether or not a license is suspended, revoked, or not renewed.
So
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Just a follow-up. The ALRB can assess demerits, but can they take them away?
The ALRB can choose not to assess the amount recommended by the police department. So say, for example, that another establishment in the community had a fight that occurred at the establishment. Again, this is not uncommon to occur at any licensed establishment. Intoxicating substances make people do silly things sometimes. So sometimes when fights occur, the bartender will immediately attempt to break up the fight. We'll call the police and say, hey, we have a problem. I need you to come here and help me out. Like, there's a fight and we can't get them to stop. They'll trespass people from the bar. Other times, licensed establishments will have the bartender hop over the bar and take a swing at somebody and decide they would like to join the fricassee and not report it to the police. So there could be situations there where the police would choose to impose 50 demerit points for a fight on both of those establishments or make that request. And the ALRB could then say, hey, the first establishment did everything right. They attempted to break up the fight. They called us right away. They turned over video right away. They were cooperative. The second establishment was non-cooperative, refused to speak to us, etc. So that could be a situation where the ALRB should say, hey, these shouldn't be treated equally because of the extenuating circumstances. That said, demerit points are a really weird system. I grew up going to a school where we got demerits, and it always seemed very inconsistent who got the uniform dress code enforced against them and who didn't. And I'm seeing some smiles from some of you who I think had a similar system. I think it's cleaner to have just a clear set of rules about here's what we expect of our licensed establishments. You will be cited by the police department rather than issued demerits if you violate those regulations. And then if you continue to be cited, we'll come before the council as a body and ask that a hearing be held on non-renewal. The way our code is structured right now is very unusual because ALRB makes an imposition of demerit points on a finding on that, but the ultimate hearing on where this is held is still going to be before council. So it's just kind of a system that doesn't function well for our community as we currently exist with a number of licensed establishments we have and as we continue to grow. I think demerit points can be very effective in a community where there's maybe 5 or 6 taverns and everyone is familiar with everyone else. They don't necessarily work as well in large cities, and I'm not aware of a lot of large communities in Wisconsin that choose to use them anymore.
Is that it? Okay, Alder Jacobs.
So I have a number of questions. I'll start with the police chief. So was 300 the number of demerit points that they received, or was it higher than that?
I thought it was lower than that.
I believe that Lieutenant Lingle from the police department requested that 300 demerit points be imposed, and the ALRB chose to impose 200 demerit points.
Correct.
At the time that they imposed those 200 demerit points, they did not think that could result in a suspension, revocation, or non-renewal. They thought the standard in our ordinance was 250. The actual standard in our ordinance is 200. It was pretty clear the ALRB's intent was to be a very severe slap on the wrist, but not a suspension or revocation. When I reviewed this at the staff level and had conversations with the clerk's office and the police department, I said, hey, I think this may be a situation where we might want to non-renew. That has not been a historic practice we've had to undertake in Sun Prairie. But that also being said, I think Chief Warwick and I are certainly not opposed to doing so if there is a tavern that has problematic activity that they are not willing to correct. The Wagners do appear to have made a good faith effort here to take corrective action and engage in negotiation with us, which is why we're making this recommendation to grant subject to conditions.
Okay, so I'm asking that question because when I read the document, I thought I recall saying this violation 25 points, this violation 50 points, etc. So I'm asking, what did it add up to?
Sure. The document that was presented by Lieutenant Lingle was him asking for those points to be imposed. That added up to 300. The ALRB chose to impose, which is within their discretion, 200. Okay. So it's kind of similar to municipal court. If somebody gets a 6-point speeding ticket, the judge can choose, or my office can recommend that it get amended down to a 3-point or a 4-point speeding ticket. The ALRB and their administrative authority took the 300-point request from the police department and reduced it down to 200, which is within their lawful authority to do. So when the police department asks the points be imposed, it's not an automatic sanction. It does get reviewed by that administrative body.
I understand. Okay, so here's my next question. I'm not sure which one of you is for. Who got second place? What tavern got second place, and how many points did they get?
There was a restaurant, Golden Nest. There was an issue at Golden Nest. They did not have a licensed operator on site. They are primarily a restaurant, but they do serve alcohol. And there was a brief period where someone was running late for work, so they were open and serving alcohol for, I think, like a half hour or something along those lines. And they were assessed, I believe, 25 demerit points for that violation.
Okay, so we have 300 points, and second place was a half-hour late bartender. 25 points. This is absolutely outrageous. I can't even believe we're entertaining keeping this open. This is crazy. We're talking about, on more than one occasion, police officers assaulted. We're talking about gunshots. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I remember, I don't know when it was last year or the year before, but a new bar business wanted to come into downtown, and the council voted no based on, I don't remember. Yeah, it was something along the lines of, oh, they were operating before they had their license. Someone didn't like the background of the owner or the alleged owner. Someone didn't like the activity. That stuff's a day in the Magic Kingdom compared to this, to me. And I also, like Cheryl, I'm sorry, Alder Batterman, watched the video, and I was disturbed by the deflection that the owner tried to say, "Oh, these aren't my customers; these are other people." And the most bothersome thing that was said was, he said, "Well, if I knew I might lose my license, I would have done something about this earlier." I mean, that's like, that's not even cavalier. That's callous. That's self-serving. I can't believe, if we're going to allow businesses like this downtown, we should dissolve the business improvement district, because why should we spend money improving the businesses if we're going to allow something like this? So my vote is going to be no.
So I do want to be clear, if you vote to grant the license tonight, which is what the motion made by Alder Owens was, and that vote fails, there would still need to be action on the license. We can't simply have a no vote and have that be a non-renewal. They are entitled to a hearing under the statutes. So we would then need to have a special council meeting to hold that hearing. I'm not saying that to influence your votes either way, but just so you're aware of what the next steps would be. A no vote tonight is not a we're done with this issue. A no vote tonight would mean we need to schedule a meeting before June 30th to do a non-renewal hearing.
Okay, I want to jump in here for a minute. Kathleen, I assume this agreement will be signed by June 30th. Otherwise, we don't go forward with renewal, correct?
Absolutely. So we would review the terms of the agreement. I drafted it with the assistance of Lieutenant Lingle and Lieutenant Thompson. And then I sent it over to the Wagners through their legal counsel. They've been negotiating back and forth in good faith. It wasn't, I'm not agreeing to any of these terms. It was, I'd like this changed up and here's why. So I'm confident we should be able to reach a resolution before June 30th. But if you adopted the motion as it was proposed by Alder Owens, the city clerk would not issue the license until Chief Warwick, myself, and the city clerk had reviewed the conditions and said, okay, this is satisfactory to address our concerns regarding the property.
Okay. So what does enforcement look like if the conditions aren't met?
Sure. So the Wagners, again, through their legal counsel, have already agreed that if this license is granted tonight, and there are subsequent issues where we move to suspend or revoke the license, they won't use this granting as kind of an argument to why they shouldn't be suspended or revoked. That's something they would normally be entitled to under law, but they have said, nope, we would waive our ability to contest that. We also have the immediate ability to cite if they violate the conditions of the agreement, because the agreement essentially gets rolled into their license. So for example, if you have a liquor license, you agree that you're going to close at bar time. They are instead voluntarily agreeing that they would close at midnight. So if they were open at 12:05, the police department would be able to issue a citation for operating outside of the hours approved on their license. So we have enforcement mechanisms both in terms of coming to the council to ask you to suspend or revoke the license at that point, as well as issuing additional financial penalties. The police department did cite them 2 times for being a chronic nuisance property. The LLC, which owns the bar, did enter a no contest plea to those charges in court earlier this year. So I appreciate council's concerns. I do think that we are going to be able to reach a point, hopefully within the next day or two, where we're able to reach resolution and get a agreement on what conditions of operation would be, such that the clerk could issue the license if that is council's direction. And again, the property is already listed for sale. I did verify that myself when their attorney indicated they wanted to sell it. It has already been put on the market.
Okay. Thank you, City Attorney. Okay, I was wondering, Mr. Wagner, you're in the audience, so I was wondering if you could please come forward. I have a couple questions. Actually, more than a couple. And if you could please state your name and address for the record.
Charles Wagner, 105 Oak Street, Sun Prairie, Wisconsin.
Thank you. A few questions for you. So within the last year, the police calls continued to increase. So my question is, why weren't the changes you're making now implemented months ago?
I wasn't notified of any points against me until last week. I was notified not once with any letter or anything. I sat with 2 officers 3 different times at the police department and asked if there was a problem and if we had to correct something and if this was going to affect my license. Every time I was told, no, no, no. You've put the cameras in. They've used my cameras to come down and get footage 5 different times. Officers have come in, talked to me, talked to my manager, and got the footage and done what they want, including giving me tickets, which I was told wouldn't happen if I gave them the footage.
Okay.
But, so when you say, why haven't I addressed something, I would have, how would you like to get a speeding ticket and get your license taken away by a review board and then notified that it happened? That's what literally has happened. My bar has been in business for 92 years here. My dad opened it in 34. I've run it since 87. And if you want to ask how many points, this is probably the first year I've had over 50 points ever assessed against me. And half of it is because of the promises you broke me. You guys promised me that they would not take the public parking away from the area down there when you put your new building up. They came in the first day and closed the parking. Now, everybody is in my parking lot fighting about, they put pit stop customers parked there. The board and brush people parked there. They park the customers in. They get in an argument because they can't get their car out of my parking lot. And it ain't even, the two cars weren't even in my weren't mine. When you say I get mad, yeah, I've been in town, bar has been in 92 years. I've supported. I have 7 people working for me now. I've supported 10 people, up to 10 people in my heyday when I had a really, and the reason everything is coming to a head, every other bar closes at midnight because they don't want to deal with the Section 8 people. And I thought, okay, if I pay on it, stay on them, and get good people, we can do it. But there's no way to control them. So if I'd have been told this back when I had 50 points, we'd have been closed at midnight. Because there isn't one of these violations come in before bar time or 1 o'clock after. The night when the officer was hurt, we closed the bar at 1:45. The people that went out the front door got in a fight with the people because Pit Stop also, the bartenders thing, they closed. They bounce, they stay, they close and open. If we close, they close. They won't stay open when we ain't open just because of the problems. And but when you took that parking lot away from across the street, that made everything, I have 15 stalls. The Board and Brush has 8. The Verizon's 10, well, it used to be Verizon, the old GTE, I think it's Verizon now, but I think they actually control one side. By law, they can come in and tow anyone if they have to get to their underground banks.
Okay.
So it isn't, it's like one of her things was, I'm supposed to shut the parking lot off. Well, that's really good. But there's 4 tenants above the Board and Brush. There's my tenants, and I think they'd like to get in and out of the parking lot.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. The next question is, this is a general question. Do you accept responsibility for any of the issues identified by law enforcement? Any of the items on the 50? Or
yes,
on the...
I agree they're all bad. But like I said, whenever I asked if there was a problem, when I sat down with the officers right in this place, not once did they tell me there was a problem. Not once. They suggested I get cameras. They suggested in my tip telling my bartenders to call them the minute the fight starts or the minute there's a problem. But all the bartenders have the same thing. Well, every time we call, you're going to get points assessed and we're going to get my license taken away. And they're all worried they lost their job. There's 7 people, and 2 of them, it's their full-time job.
Well, I think my next question follows up on what you just said. So what changes are being made to ensure that your staff will call police when necessary, since this has been an issue in the past?
Yes, I agree. And we will have the officer come down and talk to them. But 2 of them told me right now, I'm going to have to probably get more different staff because until midnight, I ain't got 6 people in my place. Right now, being closed at midnight, I'm taking in $400 Monday through Thursday. On a Friday and Saturday, if they're good, I barely take in $600 across the bar. The bartenders are no longer making $100, $150 a night in tips. They're making $30. And they both told me they'll be looking for different places because they can't afford to live on that. So
next question, along with the employees, What training do your employees receive regarding
They-
alcohol service and patron management?
They go through you have to go on a license thing to get your license and you have to do that. And then there's a server's thing that they have to take, but they only have to do that to take their first license. After that, I have a manager that lives on site. He and me have been telling them you got to nip it in the bud early and call the cops. But I had to fire the last two people I fired was just for that reason. One of them, not only did he not call the cops, he lied to them when they got there and told them he didn't know the people. Well, it's on camera, you dummy, you're talking to both of them. They're both your friends. He just didn't want to turn his friends in.
The next question is, do you employ security personnel?
Right now, with the business I have, I can't afford it. And this is the sad part, I made 60% of my sales from midnight to 3 with the problem people and with the Section 8 people and stuff, and the people that don't care. If they have a 50 or $100 in their pocket, they spend it, and they tip well, surprisingly. And when they go broke, they don't care. And they're out to have just a good time, but they have no respect for the bar, they have no respect for the bartenders, and they have no respect for the cops. It's just all to have a good time. And I've tried to regulate it, and you can't. And that's why I put the bar up for sale, and I'm looking to get out. You'd have to have a full-time place if you want a bar open in this town after midnight to deal with the types that have come into town. There's no way you're going to do it without security.
Okay, thank you. And what should the council expect to see 6 months from now that demonstrates improvement?
I did not hear you.
What should the council expect to see 6 months from now that demonstrates improvement?
I guarantee you, since we'll close before midnight, that's all the older people, the people that have been in town that come into my place all the time. We will have absolutely not one problem. Because the problems never start until midnight to 3 and after. All the noise complaints, all the noise, which is over 7 of them, and that also is also the gun. And if you can get mad at me for saying it ain't my tenants or it ain't my people, it was the 2 tenants above the board and brush in the front apartment, and there's 2 tenants in the back. The 2 tenants in the front had a falling out with their partners or whatever, and boom, and his buddy and them were bringing 4 motorcycles in, parking them right up underneath the board and brush, the back apartment, the windows, and blocking the door open, turning the music on full blast at 2, 3 in the morning and causing the problem. And the person who called was the tenant above the board and brush. And it was all on the board and brush property. Technically, I can't do anything about that legally. Ginger lives in Florida. She could care less. She's had the building for sale. She doesn't do anything at all. She doesn't do any maintenance or anything. It's the people that the board and brush do some, and the parking lot gets handled by me. I do the snow, I do the removal and that, because she ain't gonna do it. And that's who was down there. And the reason the shots were fired, one of the patrons from the bar came out at 2, and the guy has the music playing loud, told him to turn it down, and he turned, grabbed something, and pointed the gun in the air and went bang, 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 bang. I ain't turning it down. And they took off.
Okay.
You ain't gonna do any more. You ain't gonna tell the guy again to turn it down. And that's who fired the gun. And if the cops would have arrested him, if you look at it, 8:23, 8:30, 8:31, 8:93, 10:03 is they had it again. Noise violation, them 4 with the motorcycles, or the 2 guys with the motorcycle and the 1 car that are friends, and now they're ex-friends with the people up in the front apartment, turning the music on full blast, boom. And then they, in the back apartment, calls the And I wasn't notified it until September. All the first 7, if they'd have notified me and asked, when I finally found out, I told them, I said, it's the guys, they're trying to harass the people in the front apartment.
Okay. Yeah, I heard most of that during the ALRB meeting from May 18th.
I mean,
thank you.
Yeah, I can be responsible for if I'm responsible for my parking lot, even if it's their tenants, shouldn't they be responsible for them? And like I say, if I'd have been told I was getting assessed points each time they had a noise, they gave me a noise. They get people that down there with a noise complaint. Don't give them a trespass ticket. Don't give them a disorderly conduct ticket. Say, go on your way. Turn around and give me points, but don't tell me they're giving me points until 2 weeks before this. And I'm supposed to now, turn back time and change what happened? Impossible.
Okay. Last question. Do you believe renewing your license is in the best interest of this community?
The bar's been there forever, and if I ain't open after midnight, there'll be no more problems, and somebody else can come in, and when they buy it, and maybe it'll be a bar, maybe it won't, but they'll do something with it. I'm slowly going to go down. Until it gets sold, I am not looking. I'm 66 in poor health, and I am not going to go out there. I've built the bar up from nothing to $1,000 a day and $2,000 on the weekends every night, where you make good money and you have 5, 6, 7 good employees. I can't do that no more. I ain't got the time and I ain't got the ambition.
Okay.
If I moving forward, all I'll try and do is get it sold to a decent person.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Next question I have is thank you very much. Okay. Yeah, you can sit down. Next question is for either Chief Warwick or Lieutenant Thompson. Second question I asked was, according to the applicant, they were not notified. Is that new news to them in the last couple of weeks?
I think that comes down to perspective. Okay. I think the assessment of points is irrelevant in a situation like this. Mr. Wagner definitely knew what was going on at his bar, as he just informed you that he pled in municipal court to the chronic nuisance tickets, and that was earlier this year. The documentation that I have provided here by Lieutenant Thompson says that he was notified in July. He said September. Now, granted, he might be talking about another incident that he was made aware of, but there was an incident July 26th, August 24th, and then September 13th with the unnecessary noise that he referenced, that he was definitely notified of what was going on at his bar. I don't think, the phrase ignorance is not an excuse for following the law is definitely come into play here. As Attorney McDaniel had just explained earlier, that this demerit point system has been on the books for quite some time. And if Mr. Wagner's been in business for the time that he says, I'm sure that this had to have come up in the past. I don't buy that theory. But again, it's a matter of perspective. That's his reality, so we'll respect that. But at the end of the day, I don't think the assessment of points is really the focus here. I think the focus is on the prior incidents and when I can prove factually that he was notified.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you, Chief. Okay, bring it back to this body. I think Alder Baker had his hand up before, but Alder Jacobs?
Oh, here. Okay, so I'm not asking, there's 12 incidents I'm looking at on this report. I'm going to ask you about 4 of them, Chief. And I'm not asking about a letter.
Okay. Do my best. I mean,
July 4th, 2025, victim injured, large bar fight. Did the owner know this was happening? I'm not asking if he was notified by a letter, but was he aware this had happened?
He had to be, because that's what the information we would take in consideration for the chronic nuisance ordinance.
Okay, 7/26/25. Battery to police officer. Was he aware that happened?
Yes, actually, I'm looking at that letter right now on Lieutenant Thompson's computer.
Okay, 10/5/25. Shots fired. Did he know that happened? Okay. The last one, 4/26/26, just a couple months ago, battery to police officer. Did you know that happened?
I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay,
I'm
so
sorry.
at least 3 of the 4, we know that he know this happened, whether he received a letter or not. Thank you.
Okay.
I would just say the staff at the bar was aware of the incidents that were happening and the action that was taken. The police department had contact. If that information was relayed to Mr. Wagner,
I'm sorry, could you speak in?
Yeah.
I couldn't hear you. I'm sorry.
I believe that our staff made the bar staff aware of every incident that happened at the bar. If the staff of the bar made Mr. Wagner aware, that I guess I can't definitively say.
And if they didn't, then he didn't have control of the bar.
Well, it would be common for us to interview all the employees involved and to get their perspective. Now, the communication between employee and owner, we're not responsible for that.
Okay, Alder Baker, then we're going over to this side.
I watched the video also, and one of the descriptions in there was a working man's bar. And when Mr. Wagner actually described it, I did think of a bar up north somewhere where we're deer hunting and that. I can see that scenario up there. My thing about selling the bar, I think that's an amazing decision to make. It's not an easy sale because you're selling the business, you're not selling the liquor, you're not selling the alcohol. It cannot come with the transaction. So it'll take them a little bit of time to sell that. Banks don't normally finance any type of business like that. And then, but again, I commend him for reducing the hours to midnight, maybe a little bit too late on that. But again, it's a business that's been in this town for 92 years. And that's what I was going to lead with before he was speaking with. It's a part of Sun Prairie. And I'd like to see them be able to go out kind of on top or easing their way toward, not on top, I guess, but giving them a way out and kind of amending things that way. I think it's the decisions that you've made and our city attorney have made. I think that is very kind to these folks, like they're Sun Prairie people.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Alder Rosas and then Alder Comstock.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make an amendment. I move that we suspend the license, the location here at 110 East Main Street.
Alder Rosas, I apologize for interrupting. We can't just suspend the license. They would have to have a hearing on suspension, and we would have to give them statutory notice of that hearing.
When can we do that?
We have to give them at least 3 days notice. So the soonest we would be able to do it in theory would be Friday. That being said, I think that could also be a point of discussion with their attorney. They have retained legal counsel, so the LLC would be entitled to be represented by their attorney at that hearing.
So what motion can we make here to delay?
Alder Owens made a motion to grant the license subject to conditions. My suggestion would be that you take an up or down vote as to whether or not you wish to grant the license with conditions.
Okay.
If that motion fails, then I think that's kind of a notice to the city clerk and I that, okay, we need to get a hearing scheduled and proceed
we can go that route
differently.
if you wish.
Okay, Alder Comstock.
I think it's a good thing that we're agreed to close at midnight, but that makes the presumption that there were no problems that occurred before midnight. I have a hard time believing that midnight rolls around and then we have the problems. I also am a little concerned about how those who use that bar have been described. I'm a little uncomfortable with that. The firing of gunshots, I guess I would ask the chief this question. You know, the best predictor of future behavior is past behavior, I think. And at the time they open and they're open until midnight, the first gunshot that's fired kills somebody. Are you okay with that?
Absolutely not.
Well, I'm not either. So you can't predict if that will or won't happen, the best prediction of whether that activity will stop is the fact that it didn't stop. So I'm not so sure that you can make all the conditions that you want. That doesn't mean that they will get followed. And if the first time one of them is broken, somebody gets killed. I just appalled at that.
Alder Rosas.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I can make a motion here, procedure, I'd like to speak a little bit about my experience in the city of Madison as a formal member of the Alcohol License Review Board. We closed 4 bars there in the city of Madison for the same reasons that we're talking about this evening. They start small and then they just kind of accumulate. And it's unfortunate, but the behavior never changes. And I'm sorry to Mr. Wagner, but that business has been stained. And I don't know if people will go back there and patronize this place because of these issues. Some of the things I could able to understand, but when it comes to police officers being hurt and being battered, that elevates my concern even more. And this is one of the reasons why I was making that motion. So I can tell you some stories, but unfortunately, they're really embarrassing, and I'm not going to share them here. But that's one of my main reasons what I think that we should go forward and this license be suspended down the road. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Alder Jacobs.
Oh, wait, she has a question.
Oh, okay. Alder Crombie, and then Alder Jacobs.
Thank you. I'm looking at these. I watched the video too of the meeting, and I'm wondering, I have always heard of complaints in that area at Wagner's Bar, but I'm not saying it's usually in the parking lot. Have they not received more than these complaints, like back in 2024, 23? I mean, has there, for me, there's been a pattern there in that parking lot area.
Well, I can only speak to the pattern of basically last year, and I think that's probably reasonable.
Enough?
And
Okay.
the parking lot, I think, in my past and professional experience, the people that attended your bar, and the people that are in the parking lot. Now, if they have, to what Mr. Wagner said about if there's, some kind of disturbance between the tenants that live above the bar, should that be directly resolved to the bar? I think that's for the ALBR decision and the officers on scene to make that decision. And they could be applied to both. But I think the people in the bar it's very reasonable to assume that you can make the assumption that those people came from the bar.
And I think it's very smart that they closed at midnight now. But since they've closed at midnight, it hasn't been very long. Have there been? It's been pretty quiet.
It's been improving, yes. I mean, Lieutenant Thompson could look up the calls and see in the last couple of weeks. We haven't had this discussion, so I would say it's minimal.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Alder Jacobs and Alder Batterman.
Yeah, I was going to make an amendment that the first 2 assaults on police officers are free pass, but then after that we do something. Can I get a second? Yeah, I didn't think so.
Alder Batterman.
So this ALRB, am I doing it right?
Yes.
Occurred in May something.
May 18th.
May 18th. What was happening between May 18th and now? They closed the bar at midnight immediately, or?
It's my understanding that the Wagners had been previously closing the bar at midnight. I couldn't speak to exactly what time that had occurred, but speaking as to what occurred on the staff end between May 18th, after the ALRB meeting, I reviewed the file. I discussed it with Chief Orrick, with Lieutenant Thompson, and with Lieutenant Lingle. I had several conversations with Deputy City Clerk Linsenmeyer, who handles a lot of the licensing issues for the clerk's office, and I suggested that we bring this forward to council for your consideration. Because of the noticing procedure, we didn't bring it forward at the last meeting because the timing just did not align to do so, which is why it's on tonight's agenda instead. In terms of what the bar has done, I know Lieutenant Thompson is pulling the call data right now, so he could talk more about what has or has not occurred in the recent days. I do know that everyone I've spoken with at police has reported that activity at the bar has been substantially less problematic since the bar agreed to begin closing at midnight. I just can't tell you the specific date. I don't know if Mr. Wagner, perhaps you know when you started closing at midnight?
What day was the alcohol review?
May 18th.
We closed that night
If you could just, before you speak, if you could come up to the microphone, please. There you go.
We've been closed since the day of that meeting. That was one of the agreements we agreed upon. I would close. And like I said, since that day, I'll bring down my books. We don't have $200-$300 days anymore. Is an average day from Monday through Wednesday, Thursday. And the weekends are $500-$600. Now, in respect, from midnight to 3, when you say the problems, have to occur before, no. Because from midnight to 3, I would take in 70% of the money in everything. 15 to 40 people will walk in that door right around midnight and stay. And like I say, they come out with their $80, $100, and they're going to spend every dime of it. And they're going to get as much as they can for it and have as much fun. And that's what they're there for. And right, wrong, or otherwise, yes, I maybe should have. I knew the crowd has changed a lot. A crowd in a bar changes every 5 to 10 years, especially the night crowd. Your day crowd is your daily. They come in the door from 3 to 7. They're regulars. They come in, boom, boom, boom. You know what they drink. You know what they want. They're there to have a few drinks, shoot a few games of pool, talk and have fun with their buddies at work, and then head home.
Excuse me, sir. I'm the one who asked the question, okay? And what I'm trying to determine is, what have you done to address these issues?
Closing before midnight solves. We don't have the people that cause the problems come in the door. On a Friday and Saturday, we'll be 50, 60 people. And we had the second and third bartender come on at midnight.
Have you talked to your staff about this?
Yes.
You've had meetings.
And we've had staff.
Have you had the police officers come in?
Dan, I had to get rid of Dan. I had to get rid of the one girl, I can't think of her name now, and she just helped out at night. She overpoured and she didn't pay attention to the customers. And that's late crowd. In the afternoon, it's all, my bartenders on Saturday and Sunday have been with me for, I bet you, 20 some years. The guy that just left, that did my afternoons, he was there for over 30.
Okay.
And he's gone. But in the with them people that we would, if we close at midnight, and we could actually, by 10:30, there won't be more than 4 people in the bar. From 4 to midnight, it's just, you're staying open for the few that come in, have a few beers, and they, the minute we get dead from 10:30 on, they're closing.
I guess I'm confused because when you say, if we close at midnight, and then you say that you open until 3.
From when we were open from midnight to 3, that is when we had to bring in the extra people, and that is when all the problems, and by closing before then, we won't have the problems. We won't have the people walking in the door that are going to cause the problems. When it's all the normal old regulars that have been coming to my place for 10, 20 years that come in from 2 o'clock till 10. And, they come in, you can set their beer on the bar that they're coming. Them are the type of people that built my place, and they are the after day workers that have been with me for,
okay,
since I've been there. It is the younger crowd, the different people that have come to town, and they don't have, and it's just sad to say that the younger people don't have. When we grew up, you had respect, period, for your elders, for the people in charge, for at the bar, the cops. Years ago, I don't care how many people were in a fight in the parking lot. When an officer walked up, everybody stopped and showed him respect because he's there.
Okay, well, sir, thank you. I was really just trying to get to what steps you've taken after the meeting, and I think I
Yeah,
understand.
I can guarantee you, if you grant me a license, I can guarantee you there will not be one problem. And if there is one problem, I will let it go then. But I guarantee you, if long as we just have the normal, regular people come in before midnight, we will not have a problem. And I can tell you, I don't know of any points that I was assessed in the previous years.
Okay.
I can't remember the last time I've had and they say, they do talk to my staff and everything else, and I do hear about it. But what I am saying is if they'd wrote me a letter and told me that I had these points assessed and that it is going to affect my license, I would have been closed, I guarantee you, before midnight, I'd have been closed last October. If they'd have told me in last October when the gunshot happened, well, this is probably it, it's going to cost you your license,
I would like to call the question.
Okay.
I would have definitely been closed from midnight on that day.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wagner. Okay, so there's a call for the question, so we will have a vote. Just want to remind everybody what you're voting for. And again, Elena, if you could repeat Alder Owen's motion, please.
We have to vote on calling the question.
Yeah.
We need
Okay.
a second, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, do we have a second for calling the question?
A second.
Okay.
Second.
So if we could just be reminded of the motion.
Alder Owens wrote,
Alder
or
Owens.
the one that's on the table right now?
Alder Owens.
To, let's see.
I believe paraphrasing. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, just point over. Aren't we just voting right now on the call the question?
Right, that's all we're voting
Yes.
on now.
Yeah,
Okay.
not on the.
Okay.
Question.
Okay, all in favor of calling the question now, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Same sign? Okay. Calling the question now on Alder Owen's motion, please.
I believe that motion, roughly paraphrasing, was to recommend granting the license subject to the bar owners agreeing to conditions approved by the city attorney, police chief, and city clerk.
Right, so an aye vote will be moving this
An
forward.
aye vote would be to grant the license. A no vote would not grant the license tonight, and we would then need to move forward with having a non-renewal hearing at a later date.
So it'd be a special hearing. Okay, does everybody understand? Okay, Helena, would you please read the roll?
Drangler,
No.
Jacobs,
No.
Owens,
Aye.
Rosas,
No.
Baker,
Pass.
Batterman,
No.
Comstock,
No.
Crombie,
No.
Baker,
No.
and that motion fails 1 to 7.
7. Okay, so what this means is then we will set up a special hearing
Right.
between now and June 30th. And City Attorney McDaniel, will you be notifying us, or will that be?
Yep, I will be
coming
working
from-
with the city clerk and all of you to coordinate that. I am overdue to send all of you a scheduling poll on when we're going to be sitting down to do our goal setting. So I will send you a poll tonight for that. In addition, I will be sending you a poll for your availability to hold a special hearing. I will then follow up with Council for Wagner's to see what their availability is. Again, we'd have to hold that before June 30th, just so everyone's aware that is a tight time frame. That being said, the applicant is also always free to withdraw their application based on tonight's meeting. So I will refer that matter to their council as well.
And just for clarification, that can be a Zoom meeting also?
It could
For
be a
scheduling?
Zoom hearing if necessary, if people were unavailable. All of
Okay.
our meetings have to be hybrid.
Right. Yeah, I just want to make sure people have options, because chances are their schedules to get everybody together in one time at one spot, it's going to be a little difficult if it's not on a Tuesday. Okay, thank you very much. We'll move on to referrals to the Committee of the Whole. Do we have any referrals? Alder Rosas.
I have 3.
Okay.
Okay. The first one, I'm requesting to direct city staff to explore the costs feasibility and open meetings implications for the council, mayor, and members of the administration to receive a session or two with a strategic planning facilitator. The purpose of this would be to help us to consider streamlining our city priorities. We cannot continue the same level of service. We need to take work off staff plates. We have to reduce our city priorities. We should not continue to do piecemeal decisions without a strategy. Once we know pricing and possibilities, we can discuss scheduling sessions. I believe we need to, what needs to be done and just a consistent vision on how to accomplish it. A neutral facilitator will help us with that. I believe administration could appreciate the direction and focus, and I believe it will give the council a strong roadmap. This does not have to be a full study. We've already done our strategic planning pre-referendum. My suggestion is to look at existing priority and decide what we can and cannot feasibly continue. Second.
Okay, so you made a motion or a referral?
Is there a second?
Is there a second?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Alder Jacobs.
Second referral I have, I would like city staff to accomplish information, to compile information with similar sized cities, organizational charts and structure. I believe looking at 5 or 10 other municipalities, including those municipalities that have failed referendums. When major differences are noted, city staff should call the municipalities to see how the performance those duties or not. For example, some cities have fire department and MES under the mayor. Is there a benefit for that? Some municipalities handle affordable housing through CDA. Is there efficiency that we could replicate? Some municipalities have fewer administrative roles. Is there a benefit to that structure? I'm not looking for a full study, but reaching out to more efficient ideas. As well as I'd like to add that looking at post-reorganization during that budget season. I'm waiting for a second.
Okay, so there's a referral. Is there a second? Alder Baker. Okay.
Okay.
And your third.
One of the part-time employees from the media center will be resigning at the end of the month. I want the administration to hire a person for the media center as soon as possible. That is my last one, and appreciate a second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, or a referral and a second. Okay, so those three will move on. Any other referrals?
That's it. Thank you.
Okay. Any announcements? Any announcements? Yes.
Just to address the first referral made by Alder Rosas, I will be sending out a scheduling poll to all of you shortly. I've been in communication with Council President Owens about moving forward with strategic planning based off of the initial referrals that came out of our meeting in March. We have found a consultant. We went out for quotes, and they came in 3 together and 1 very far apart. So you will be receiving scheduling sessions, both for you to potentially have a one-on-one individual meeting with the facilitator, as well as for availability for group planning sessions. I do recognize it's summer, so it's going to be tough to schedule those. So please just check off the times that you are available and time to make that work.
Okay, thank you.
We're already doing it.
Okay, any announcements?
Just a reminder.
Okay, hearing no announcements, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you. We are adjourned.